How are you guys doing? This is Ryan. Welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I want to talk about why dictators seem to love Bitcoin. So if you're a dictator, this video is for you. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it, guys. After watching Nayib, Bukele in El Salvador make Bitcoin legal tender, essentially like this week, or I think on Tuesday, it is legal tender there. And then also in the news this past week, we saw Cuba is looking at cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin to use for their central bank. This really made me think, after being a descendant of Cuban immigrants, like, why would the Cuban government want to do this? Why is Nayib Bukele doing this in El Salvador? And is this trend likely to continue, that we're going to see oppressive governments use Bitcoin, and why would they want to do it? So I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and talk about why Bitcoin is very helpful for dictators, and talk about a cryptocurrency that would stop this from actually happening. So with that said, let's jump in the video. All right, so why are dictators using Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency? Now I'm gonna jump down a rabbit hole, and I implore everyone to do their own research after watching this video, but this is the research I've done and is leading me to these conclusions as to why Bitcoin is very helpful for dictators. So let's start. So Bitcoin is a digital asset with a finite amount that has a huge network effect and has grown a ton in value since its inception. Its invention came from the free market and has brought competition to the currency space that's been dominated by governments. So we're seeing an industry such as currency now getting disrupted by digital currency. It's going to be superior to just about any government currency because it has a lot more desirable properties as currency than government currencies. So you have a country like El Salvador that can't even come up with a good enough currency. They've actually adopted the dollar. They don't even have their own sovereign currency, so they rely on the dollar, and that puts them in a really kind of tough position. Usually countries like to have their own currency because it helps them invisibly tax their citizens through inflation and fund, government programs. But in countries like El Salvador, also like Cuba, they have such lousy currencies that their people are so unhappy with it. It actually puts them in a position to have, lose power, because if there's too much unrest in society, they're going to go and knock down the Capitol building. So that's why you had El Salvador switch to the dollar, because it's far superior than their native currency. But then this creates problems too, right? Because you don't have power of your own currency. And if the United States is starting to do things bad, like have high inflation rates, that this creates problems that you can't really counteract. And you're using the dollar and you can't print it, right? You're just relying on something a little bit more stable for their citizens. But now this thing Bitcoin comes around. And Bitcoin over the last 4 years has made some interesting things that are very helpful for dictators. There's a dog in my yard. In 2017, Bitcoin became so popular that so many people were using the network. If you don't know how Bitcoin works, it works on what's called a blockchain, and transactions go into a block. When the blocks become full, people then have to compete to get in the block and have to spend. They spend a fee, so it creates a fee market. And the blocks can be expanded and put in larger sizes, but Bitcoin has decided not to do that. They want to keep a 1 megabyte block. Now, many people didn't like this. They wanted to keep the transactions to be cheap and affordable for everyone. They wanted to increase the block size, and then you had a split. So you had Bitcoin split with Bitcoin Cash. It was a fork. The Bitcoin Cash crowd said, no, the blockchain should be cheap for people to use. It should be for everyone. There's 2 dogs. And around this time, there's a lot of censorship to anyone that wanted to increase the block size. And the reason they want to increase the block size is because they said, if you increase the block size, it's going to take more storage capacity for computers to be able to run the network. It's open source software that people voluntarily partake in. And if you increase the block size, less amount of computers will be able to do that. And hypothetically, it's true, but also computer storage gets cheaper over time. So we shouldn't keep a 1 megabyte block forever, or so you would think. But these people really insisted that we keep a 1 megabyte block. 4 years later, it's still a 1 megabyte block, and they want to push things off chain. So this is where it gets interesting. So now you have Bitcoin is a very slow, expensive digital currency to move around, and they've built solutions off chain, off the blockchain, that people can use to have cheap payments and have access to it. So if I'm a dictator, I'm looking at this, I'm like, Bitcoin is very expensive to move around, so my people really can't use that day to day. But they could use these off-chain solutions that usually require a custodian, and we can region lock it, and we can give these people custodial wallets. They don't even have access to the keys of the wallet. If you don't own your keys, you don't own your Bitcoin on some level, right? If you don't have it in your possession, it can be taken away, right? And I'll give some examples in history how this has played out before, when people didn't have full access to their money. That's just like saying if I had a gold bar and it's in my hands, I definitely have the gold bar. It's definitely mine. But if I gave it to someone else to hold for me and believed in good faith that they would still say I own it, but I have counterparty risk. But this case in El Salvador, from what I'm seeing, people don't even have access to that key. So they're gonna be trading these Lightning Network off-chain. I tried to download the Bitcoin Beach wallet and it says it's not provided here. And from what I've seen of all these Lightning wallets, all of them really depend on you KYCing yourself, know your customer. I have to tell them exactly who I am and they can see exactly all my transactions and how many Bitcoins I have. They can know everything around me. So if I want to run a police state, a dictatorship, wow, this is great because my people can't use the blockchain. The people in my country only make, $1 or $2 a day. I will give them $30 on September 7th of this custodian Bitcoin, this IOU of a Bitcoin, and I will hold the keys. And this way I don't have to rely on another country. I can gather all these Bitcoins and I can get rich. And yes, my country will do better because they have a better currency, but I have control. So let's go back in history. In 1933, the United States government made it illegal to own gold, but we had a gold standard. Very strange. I can't own gold physically, but my paper money says I can redeem it for gold. Huh. And they also price fixed the dollar value of gold at $25. So they took away the free market nature of it. So you didn't get the benefit of the appreciation of gold, even though you had a gold standard. This is the issue with having counterparty risk and creating a fractional reserve system here where my currency's over there, I'm trading IOUs of it, the lines get very blurry. I know it sounds like a bit of a conspiracy, but I'm looking at history, and then I saw last week that a man in El Salvador got arrested for being a vocal critic of Bitcoin. A man named Mario Gomez was arrested without any warrant, just for vocally speaking out against it. Can't express how he feels about it. And then it brings me back to 2017 when Bitcoin did not want to raise its block size, and we started seeing massive amounts of censorship going on. And you still see a lot of censorship going on. For example, a great YouTube channel, Mark Falzon, he put that article of Mario Gomez getting arrested in El Salvador in an Bitcoin Reddit thread, and he got kicked out for it. For sharing information on Bitcoin in El Salvador for someone speaking against what was being implemented, he literally got kicked out of one of the biggest Bitcoin forums. And this is going on for a long time. And it used to be a much more open discussion. A lot of people wanted the blocks to be raised, but it became almost like a sin in Bitcoin world to do this. And it feels like maybe some people infiltrated the project and realized they couldn't stop Bitcoin, but they could hijack what the project was set to do. And by making the base layer unuseful, it kind of ruins what made Bitcoin great. Like, this is the world invention. Everyone talks about blockchain technology is changing the world. Let it change the world. Let's use it. Let's not go off chain if we don't have to, or let's go off chain if you want to, but let's not censor the base layer with high fees that people can't afford. So I wonder how history is going to play out here. I wonder if these people will ever get their Bitcoin stolen from by relying on the government to give it to them and use it in their economy. And I wonder how honest this fractional reserve system stays. I wonder what Cuba is going to do. I wonder why that dictator wants to have it. So if you're a dictator watching this video, you have something very powerful here. You have a censored base layer and a lot of custodian solutions that you can region lock, and you can see that this trend is going to continue, that more dictators are going to adopt it, and yeah, your Bitcoins will be worth more in value, and no one's criticizing it. So the answer to this really is Bitcoin Cash. Go to whybitcoincash.com. Check out the differences in the visions of Bitcoin. Do you want this statist dictatorship coin, or do you want a coin that works for everyone? Look at the adoption. The adoption of Bitcoin Cash is boots on the ground. Venezuela, Nigeria, the actual people from the bottom up are doing it. Bitcoin is being adopted from the top down. Those are my thoughts. Do your own research. Let me know in the comments. I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat from some Bitcoin people on this. That's fine, I wanna hear it. But be honest with yourself. Is there some flaws in the Bitcoin adoption cycle? And could Bitcoin Cash actually be right? Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Follow me on noise.cash, a platform where you can make Bitcoin Cash. And my name over there is Ryan Giffen 2. Also follow me on Instagram. I post there pretty much daily, rgiffen89. If you want to learn more about using cryptocurrency in your life, come to my golf tournament at PJ National, September 27th. I have my email in the description below. Shoot me an email, I'll send you an invite. Let's use a real peer-to-peer electronic cash system on the blockchain. We can scale. And thank you guys so much for watching, including you dictators. And I'll see you
in my next one.
What you doing, baby?